Hello Aries, big welcome to you. This is your tarot reading for April, coming from the mountains of Java. Now April is, largely April is Ramadan. So I'm not actually doing any readings during Ramadan. So this was pre-recorded a few days before anyway. And it will mean that there won't be so many readings on this channel during Ramadan. If I do publish things, they will be largely related to Islam, or certainly Sufi Islam. But yeah, I hope you get something out of this, Aries. And if you do, if you could subscribe, hit the like button, make a comment. It all helps with these damned algorithms that I don't do so well with. But whatever, Aries, really hope that you get something out of this. You may well be asking, why from Java? What's important about tarot from Java? And the truth is, there is nothing so important about tarot from Java. Simply that here in Java, we have many different spirits who will come to help in your tarot reading. It'll probably put a different reflection on things. For example, the spirits here are less likely to be concerned about love and finances, despite people in Java being every bit as interested in these things as the rest of us. But maybe the spirits are trying to tell us something else. Now I'll be using probably 2 decks, but out of 3 decks. So the first deck is Tarot Nusantara. The second deck is the Steampunk deck. And the third deck is the Light Visions Tarot. Tarot Nusantara is actually a new one to me, which I love. Whereas the Light Visions, I've struggled with as a result of the rendering. Although I think I'll grow into it, I will keep using it and coming back to it. You can see on all of them, I'm using quite a lot of salt, and that's to clear the energy and the spirits from them. Something that I do fairly regularly with my tarot. And I also, you'll see a number of Jimat there that I use just to bring a good energy to the tarot and to my reading. Perhaps the most important mystical object we use in Java is the kris, the curly knife that you can see that I've placed across both decks. Kris are very important for bringing the spirits to work on any object here in Java. I call on the spirits of the mountain to assist me in shuffling the cards, in selecting the right cards and interpret them for Aries for April 2022. Aries, I've got the feeling, despite there being a couple of cards I'm concerned about, that this is actually a very good reading for you. Certainly April is a time of what looks to be dramatic change. If you look at that middle card, it's the Justice card. I believe this is justice coming in your favour. It's something that you've probably been waiting for. Your recent past, we have the Knight of Swords, a brave, a fearless knight, but one that's a bit prone to rushing. Your current energy is the Ace of Swords. That's either you seeking information, seeking a new way of looking at things, or you actually getting some new information. Future energy couldn't be better. It's the World card. That's the closing off of one cycle, the starting of a new cycle. Almost certainly it means luck. Good luck. However, the energy impacting on the outcome is the Ten of Swords, which is an abrupt and probably bitter ending. Now, of course, we can't have a new beginning without an ending, so it does make sense, and maybe we shouldn't read too much into it. What would prevent or change the outcome, however, is the Is he a 7 of swords? I'm sure he is. It's a 7? Yeah, a 7 of swords. And that is the card of betrayal. The outcome itself, however, is the Chariot. So remembering this is about justice, so I think you're getting justice over, I think you're betrayed. There's 2 betrayals here, or maybe it's the same betrayal but seen in a different light. But I think you're getting justice over it. And yes, there's an ending, an abrupt ending, but there's a new beginning. And as a result of that new beginning, you feel in control. You feel you have a direction. You feel you're moving rather quickly in that direction. And that's what that Chariot ending is about. So as I say, my inclination, this is a very nice reading for you, but not one without its challenges during April, that's for sure. And now the Justice card, this central card, this impacts on all the other cards, on everything else. And yeah, it's the card of justice. It could even be a court case. It could even be a court case. It might be formal justice like that. Or it could simply be karma, but it's you getting justice. Now, it could be that you're getting justice for some misdemeanor that you've done, but what I would say, it'll be firm, it'll be fair, and, you know, if you admit to it and are repentant, you have nothing to worry about. However, I very much get the feeling this is justice coming to you for things that have been done to you. So I do see it as a good card. Maybe you've been waiting for this justice for some time, although there are other cards here that suggest maybe it's quite recent. You look at her, well, there's no mistaking it's justice. She's got the scales there, she's got a sword held up in her hand, so that's, in fact, the sword is a kris. Those swords were used for execution in Indonesia, or certainly in Java. A cotton pad was placed on the shoulder, and the sword was plunged through it, through the heart, and death was fairly instantaneous. So it's fairly instant justice. I'm not suggesting either you or anyone around you is going to be killed as a result of this justice, but yeah, justice looks like it's coming. Energy in your recent past is the energy of the Knight of Swords. He's brave, he's fearless, he's fast. Sometimes he might be prone to rushing into things. Not as bad as the Knight of Wands, but he is prone to rushing into things. Acting first and thinking later. Pardon me, you look at the card, well, there's great energy, great speed in it, isn't there? He's got his sword out, so he's looking for justice, maybe. Or maybe looking for information. But he's going there very fast, very determined. It's a nice card, as I say. The thing that sometimes can happen is that you rush into things. But it's a good energy to have. But that was the past. Now, Aries, your current energy is the Ace of Swords. This could be you seeking out information. Could be you receiving information. Could be you looking for new ways of thinking about things. Now that would fit in. That would fit in because we have the World card, like you reach the end of a cycle. So it would fit in with you having understood something from this cycle and moving on to your next cycle. You look at the sword and you look at what's behind the hand, and it's sort of a bit swirly thing, a bit like a cloud. It looks rather divine, doesn't it? There's a crown at the top with a feather and some leaves. I'm not quite sure what they may mean, but there does feel like something divine about this, doesn't it? As though there's something, this is meant to happen. Is it you receiving information or just simply getting a new way of thinking? I couldn't be certain at this point. Now, the card that probably makes me the most positive about this whole reading is this World card, and this is in your future. This very much suggests that a cycle of learning, a cycle that you've been in comes to an end. And with it, a new cycle begins. So it is as though you've learned something. You've learned a new way of looking at things. And often these don't come from us controlling our environment, but the universe thrusting us into it. And sometimes through bitter experience, but we do learn. We do learn. And also what I would say with it, when we have this change of thinking, this change of environment, we often get good luck from it as well. So you look at the card, well, it does suggest change, doesn't it? I'm not sure what all those heads actually mean, but it could mean that it's good, it could mean that it's bad, and I think, we have to accept that all change is like that, but it is change. And I think if you embrace it, it's a good change. Of course, the Justice card, I did say if it's you who'd done wrong and you repent and you're open about it, then you have nothing to worry about. And maybe it's that sort. I'm not necessarily saying it is you that's done wrong, but maybe it's that sort of a thing that if you're open to change, then you will see the benefits of this change, rather than holding on to the past. Of course, we have the Chariot later, which also implies this change. Yes. Yeah. And now, the card impacting on the outcome is the Ten of Swords. This is probably almost certainly an abrupt ending. It could be quite a bitter ending to something. It could even be betrayal. Now, if I'm right that the universe is enforcing this change upon you, it'll be something unexpected. It'll be something that's a bit of a shock to you. But it will be something that gives you a new way of thinking. So going back to that Ace of Swords, the universe pushes you into a new way of thinking. It might not be the universe. It might be someone betrays you. It might be someone betrays you. Oh, I've just had a thought. I wonder if this isn't a person betraying you, but the universe. It still could be somebody doing it, but this is coming from the universe. The end is thrust upon you, as it were. You look at the card, well, there's no denying. There's 10 swords in his back. It's an ending. It's an ending. And the only thing you can do when there are 10 swords in your back is start again, isn't it? Hence the World card. So yeah, it's an ending for sure. I said the Ten of Swords isn't necessarily a betrayal. But the card that is betrayal for sure is the Seven of Swords. And this would negatively impact or change the outcome, which is why I possibly think, because the two cards are almost conflicting, why I possibly think that the Ten of Swords isn't a betrayal. Or maybe this Seven of Swords is you focusing on the betrayal element of what happened. You look at him, well, he's running off with 5 of the 7 swords. He's looking behind as though he knows he's guilty. It's possible he doesn't get away with it. It's possible that you catch him in doing it. Or it's possible, it doesn't look like it on this card, that he might have a change of heart. Although, why did he leave 2 swords there? I've got a little story. I don't know how relevant it is, but I'm going to tell it. We go between our home in Java and Jakarta using what's known as the night bus. Although these days they're not always at night. And they take Well, they claim they take 12 hours, but they can easily take 18 hours. So it's a long journey. And before I'd even met my wife went back to her home in Java, which is where we live now, from Jakarta. And she had her money and her jewellery with her. And she fell asleep on that bus. And when she got off the bus, she found that her money and jewellery had gone. But there was a certain amount of money left, and a little note from the robber, apologising and saying, "I've left you enough money to get you a taxi. Sorry for what I've done." Don't know why I've told you that, but this card feels a bit like that to me. Now, particularly in the light of the other cards, or particularly in the light of the World card, I see this Chariot now, the ending, as a very, very good card to have here indeed. This is you in control of things. This is you finding balance. This is you knowing where you're going and going there at a pace. You look at the card, there is this sense of balance. One black horse, one white horse. Hindu temple, Buddhist temple. He's got a hold of the reins. He's going in a direction. He knows where he's going. He's moving quickly. He's moving quickly. So it's as though your world comes to an end. You pick yourself up and you say, right, I'm going off in this direction. And you have to see that as a good thing. You have to see that as a good thing. You're not dwelling on it. And that's why I think maybe this Seven of Swords is a warning about dwelling on it, because that would prevent it. Yeah, that's how it feels to me. Let's get a bit of clarification before I go too far with everything. And I think the most useful clarification is to this Ten of Swords, this ending. What was the ending all about? Well, the first card we have is the Star, card of great hope. The second card we have is the Devil, addictions and attachments. And the final card we have is the Fool, that's new beginnings. But unlike the Chariot, maybe a little bit directionless. And now this Star card is quite fascinating, because it's this card of hope, faith, purpose, renewal, spirituality. Remember, we've got this Justice card coming through everything. Do you know, I'm beginning to wonder if this is justice for a misdemeanor you've committed. And the ending is your punishment. But it creates a spiritual renewal for you. I'm wondering if that's how we should see it. You look at the card, I mean, it's a beautiful card, isn't it? It's beautiful. She's sitting, witching on a star. Yeah, faith, hope, renewal. Yeah. Lovely, isn't it? So, if it was you who committed the misdemeanor, I think you're feeling guilty and you do want an ending to come. Or certainly you want things to change. And you can't change without this ending. The ending is your punishment, if you like, from the... Now, the universe doesn't really punish. It just reacts. But if you know, people will talk in terms of karma and punishment. So you could understand it in that way. But I think you're wanting it. I think you're embracing it. That's my feeling. Funny how things have changed around. Now the next card is the Devil card. So this again does suggest to me that maybe it's you who've done something wrong. Of course, it could equally apply to someone else, but it's about addictions and attachments. Let's have a look at the other cards. Is there anything else here suggesting your addictions and attachments? There aren't really, are there? There's that Knight of Swords. fearless, rushing in. You see, the world is a cycle ending and a new one beginning. So we need to get rid of these attachments. As a Kajawan believer, we believe that before we die, we must free ourselves from all addictions and attachments, or we'll carry them with us into another world. But it sort of goes further than that, because if we can do that long before we die, then it allows us to become closer to God. So the star is spiritual rebirth, and this is saying you must cleanse yourself for this spiritual rebirth. You look at the card. Now, I grew up in rural Shropshire, where the Industrial Revolution really started. And it was when Abraham Darby found out how to found iron. And there are paintings a bit like that, this rendering. Because, of course, the founding of iron created the Industrial Revolution. It created great wealth for the Severn Valley where it happened, Iron Bridge. In fact, the wares, what was made in the foundries, were taken down the River Severn to the port of Bristol and then exported all around the world. But it destroyed one of the most beautiful, bucolic landscapes. So it brought great wealth, but there was also great tragedy with it. I think, like my other story, I think it's relevant. I don't know how. Now, if I'm right that it's you who've done something wrong, and remember my story about my wife and the man taking her money and her jewellery but leaving her a note. And I think what you did was, it might have been wrong. Well, it was wrong. And you do feel guilty and you do repent. But yeah, you're this sort of person that, yeah, the guilt is there. The guilt is there. So the one thing you're wishing for is a new beginning, which is this Fool card. It's a new beginning. You're going off on a new adventure, and you are being offered this. In fact, it's almost certainly going to happen. It's almost certainly going to happen. In my summary, I'll tell you why it might not. But it's almost certainly going to happen. And you're entering it with a wide-eyed innocence, hence the Fool card. So there he is. You look at him. He's got his lovely Scotty dog with him, standing on the rooftops of London. Sort of reminds me of The Water Babies, Charles Kingsley. I don't know how many of you have read or know the story, but I'm kind of reminded of that. Yeah, the rebirth. You know, Charles Kingsley, these sweeps, they needed to be cleansed, and this is a cleansing. Normally you say with a fool it's a wide-eyed innocence and you're going out without knowing where you're going, but I do see it as entirely positive, this. I do. You're yearning for a new beginning and you get it. Yeah. I'm going to summarise Aries. Aries, the energy running through this entire reading is the justice. This is justice coming. Now, it might be because somebody has done something against you, or it might be something you've done. And as the reading's gone on, I believe that you've done something. I think it's something from the past. I think maybe you rushed into things, rushed in without thinking or giving enough thought to things, and you did something that you feel somewhat guilty about. Indeed, now you're looking for sort of new ways of thinking, answers. You know, we all do things that are wrong because we, at least at the time, have a philosophy that justifies it. we feel that we're justified or we're right in what we're doing. But I see you looking for new ways of thinking. New ways of thinking because you realise what you've done is wrong. And with a justice card, if you do repent, you will be punished. But you could then move on. And you want that to happen. So an ending is brought on something in your life. It might be something that was very important to you. But it's also an ending to whatever it was that made you commit this act. It could be an addiction there, but I think even whatever you did, and it was wrong, but there isn't a clear-cut morality around it, or at least there wasn't when you did it. And what you're looking for is a fresh start, and you're getting it. You're getting a spiritual renewal. Now, you could focus on what you did wrong and try and justify it. And if you do, then you won't get this rebirth. So if you try and justify what you did, and I think there are probably plenty of justifications for what you've done. So please don't think I'm saying, please don't think I'm condemning you that badly. No, that's for you and for the universe to do. But if you do accept your punishment, if you do accept your guilt and your punishment, not only are you going to move on, you're going to find a wonderful new balance in your life, a wonderful new direction in your life, a wonderful new control of your life, possibly a control whereby you're not being pulled by pillar to post by justifying your actions, whereby you're free of addictions and attachments. And it's going to happen quickly. So it feels like a lovely rebirth is coming to you, Aries. But you must repent. You must accept the punishment, not try and justify what you're doing. Well, I do hope you've enjoyed Tarot from Java as an addition to my channel, The Magic of Java. Please take a look at the other videos that I have on this channel about magic from Java, and I hope that you will become a subscriber. Now, if you want to hear your next tarot reading, hit the button, and that will inform you of when I publish new readings. I'm certainly going to do a reading for every month, but maybe I will try them a bit more frequently, say a mid-month reading, and maybe also some special readings. But above all, thank you so much for listening to me. Thank you, and enjoy Java.